Get up and brush off the dew on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Cut it and roll that dew on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Set up, they about to come through on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Get up. Turf today. Get up. Turf today. Let's get out the way. Here comes first play. Let's maintain that turf today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Turf Today. My name is Adam Kershane, and this week we are bringing you a fun one. We're bringing you a compilation of a bunch of different stories, a bunch of different things that have happened over the years on the show. Get to hear from a lot of our old friends, some stories that you will definitely remember, and maybe some that you missed. This is an awesome week. This is a fun one. We got some really good guests coming up over the next few weeks, and we're really excited about the lineup. But this week, just sit back, enjoy it. Share this show too. We're also using this show as like a bit of a commercial. You know, pass this one on to your friends. Say, if you listen to the show and you get into podcasting or you get into the turf today, these are the type of people you're going to hear from. These are the type of stories you're going to get to hear about. And yeah, I'm not even going to waste any time. Why don't we get into our first one? We have Graham Beat talking about one of the hardest holes he's ever seen. As you guys know, Turf Today is recorded on the Superintendent Network and is brought to you by Toro. Water. It's the lifeblood of the game, the unseen force that transforms fairways into carpets, greens into glass, and roughs into playable ground. But water alone isn't enough. It takes precision, control, and innovation to deliver it exactly where it belongs. That's where Toro Irrigation stands apart. From cutting-edge sprinklers to intelligent control systems, Toro brings superintendents the power to master water like never before. Reliable, efficient, unmatched. Because every drop matters, every swing deserves perfection, and every course deserves the best. Toro. Always solving. Always evolving. For the Open Championship, if you could add one hole from any other golf course in the world to that course for the championship, what would it be?
Oh, postage stamp from Troon.
Yeah, cool.
It's just like such a sadistic little hole. It's like 125 yards or something. But our agronomist, Richard Windows, that's his local course. He's a member at Royal Troon. And they have this rule on a Sunday that you have to play out. You can't pick up.
Oh no.
This lawyer that he was playing with, he said he's not the worst golfer. He plays off 18 or something. He said he took 38 shots.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Would you shoot a 38 on one hole?
Yeah. And everyone that goes out on the Sunday plays the same game. So he was telling me that they could see him from 4 or 5 holes. So everyone was watching this guy just go from bunker to bunker to bunker, and then into his own footprints. And it's just, yeah, postage stamp would be pretty cool.
It's a great answer. I like that.
I wouldn't want to be in the group behind him, sitting there waiting on that tee. Watch that happen. Be a little intimidated after that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty entertaining for everyone else.
It's a lot of golf shots. All right, next up, the man, the international man of mystery. You know him as Mike O'Keefe, and after this, you might be calling him something else.
After 3 years of working part-time for him in the office here, I came in full-time to this job in 1990, having started in 88. And it's all about looking out for other people and trying to help other people. And that's why he gave me the job of doing that kind of thing. And you know what, I've worked through the program, but you know, you asked me about funny stories, and there's a real funny one about when I came in. There was no job description for what I was doing because we're dealing with foreign interns, helping them, you know, come into the country, recruiting, placement. So we came up with a job description called International Student Advisor and Staff Assistant. It was a really long title. I hated it, but that was the only thing they could find that related to my job at the time because it didn't exist. Long story short, I'm going to buy a house about 4 years later. And I was in the realtor's office. We had the realtor's lawyers, we had our lawyers there, everything. And we go through, you know, when you buy a house, you got to sign 20 pages of stuff. And we signed it. And this one gal, they said, has anybody got any questions? And one of the gals was preparing the form. She put her hand up. She goes, I do. She goes, what exactly do you do? And I'm looking around, who, me? She goes, we're really interested in your title. And I'm like, oh no, what's wrong with my title? You know, I was nervous. Well, in the old days, when you filled in the boxes and it printed out, it only filled in so much of the title. And the title came out and all it typed out was international and the first 4 letters of the next word, which was STUD. And it printed.
Oh, yes.
And they said, refer to page 22. And when we looked at page 22, below my name as my profession and title was International Stud. My wife was sitting
How
next
is
to
that
me.
not carried over for all these years?
Well, but my father-in-law was sitting across from me because he was our realtor. You want to see a different shade of red? Oh my God. And all these girls are looking at me like, we've seen a lot of titles. We've never seen one that said just right up front, International Stud. And I was just like beat red. I was so embarrassed. It was horrible. So needless to say, I came back to the office and said, I need to change my title. I got really embarrassed today. So, but
Oh no. Well, we're
that
gonna have to
was,
get a new flag for your office back there that says International Stud. There's
Yeah.
no
oh,
question
trust
about
me,
it.
I got beat up over that so bad. But so I got my title changed and now I'm a program manager.
The International Stud, an all-time nickname from an all-time guest. Next up, we are stopping by with somebody who doesn't need an introduction at all, Mr. Mark Breer. And this is the chat about Scotty Scheffler being arrested.
And were you responsible for the whole Scotty Scheffler incident? Was that you?
Oh my God, yeah, that was that Friday morning?
Wednesday. It was Wednesday morning.
What? That happened on a Wednesday? God, that week.
It was Wednesday morning because it was
Yeah,
the
'cause he had
only
to tee off
morning
on
of the
Friday.
week I didn't go.
But it was one of the competitive rounds, so it had to have been at least the
Or
third.
Thursday then. Thursday.
Yeah, we're mowing fairways on the back 9, and you get out at 0 dark 30, the headlights are going, but then the sun starts to come up. But that morning was different because this layer of fog, like you see in an M. Night Shyamalan movie, like it it came in so heavy. We actually stopped to take pictures, and basically the pictures were just whiteouts. It was ended up turning out terrible. So we finished in the order that we mowed. I think our last fairway was 16. And so we get done, and our lead comes up to us, and he goes, but we were wondering where all the fans were, because when you come around 13 and where the Elijah Craig booth was and all that, that's where all the spectators were coming in. And so we wanted to get 13 mowed before all the spectators would kind of get in our way. And they weren't coming in, and it was just really weird. And then when we finished up on 16, the guy goes, Shelbyville Road is closed. I'm like, well, that's not good. That's the spectator gates. That's the VIP. That's everybody. Like, the whole road can't be closed. No, the whole road is closed. And the information sort of it trickled out in a very odd way for the people that were volunteering. So then it was like, oh, someone got hit. And then someone got hit and died. And then someone was a volunteer, and it was the volunteer that had worked at security gated maintenance. The guy that we were bringing food. You remember that,
Yeah.
Brian?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Come
Like-
on.
Oh yeah. And and it started to trickle out, and they're like, okay, we'll head back to maintenance, and then we could leave from the road that we were in, but we wanted to stay. And then so we went back, washed up, had some breakfast, and they're like, well, might as well go out and do some fairway divots, and we go back. Before we go back out, somebody says, oh, Scotty Scheffler's been arrested. So everybody thought it was Scotty Scheffler that actually ran the guy over for that brief moment in time. It was like, no, this can't be possible. And then about 20 minutes after that, it was the video had surfaced, like where he was getting arrested. Everybody's seen that video where he gets the cop overzealous, rental cop jumps across the hood and you're going downtown. And then that's, I think Roger, so Roger Meyer, he's like, he worked for the PGA of America. So he was side by side with Kerry Haig, who ran the tournament. They were always around. And that morning, Roger was in just grabbing a tee, and he's like, "Oh, that's not going to go over good." I guess the story goes is in the back seat or in the next car over was the guy of the VP of marketing for the PGA of America. So he also got it on video. And then the owner of Valhalla now is waking out of bed, and you can just imagine. You ever seen that movie, The Green Book, where the guy drives the black guy?
Oh yeah, great movie.
And then they go into jail, and then they have to call Bobby Kennedy and get out of jail, right?
Yeah.
So I envisioned that
same kind of thing. Gotta get him out.
Where the owner of Valhalla is like, wake a judge out of bed.
Yeah.
And then, so apparently drove Scheffler from jail to his tee to back to Valhalla himself, the owner.
Wow.
So I envisioned that it probably went down like that. So I guess someday they'll probably make what happened.
That's going to be a 30 for 30. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it'll have to be. Yeah,
that'll be a 30 for 30. That's going to be an epic one.
That guy's an absolute character. All right, let's head over to Paul B. Latshaw talking about his experience at Augusta.
I graduated in the fall, and I started there in January, and I was not there very long. But I can tell you things I remember a lot. Like there's always an assistant in someone's career that you're like, he's who I want to mentor. He's who I want to be. And it was Brad Owens. I mean, Brad to me was a total package. Great communicator, unbelievably hard worker, talented. And, so I remember that. And then the other thing I think that's sort of funny, because actually the year before when I was doing irrigation with Tanto, we caught up the construction. So we actually went to Augusta and we're installing, some irrigation lines. And I think what would be surprising is if people saw what that golf course looked like in the summer. I'm not saying anything bad, but you got Bermuda grass, and you don't have the overseed ride, the azaleas aren't blooming, and it's a little bit different in the summer. But I would say that now I would think there is one story. This is a good one. So I volunteered every time I was in college, and undergrad I did all right, but I was young and liked to have a good time and stuff, and mowing greens and not getting any grass off greens. I can barely see, and Dr. Dewich was a consultant, and him and my dad were talking. He said, "Well, how's Paul doing in school?" Well, I had a 5-credit weed ID and herbicide class, and he told my dad basically, apparently Paul would be doing better, but he's missing a lot of Thursdays. Well, anyone's done tournaments and you're in the big boy seat, there's something called displaced aggression. And I got every barrel on that about, you missing school and, you could be doing better. And, it was fun. But the problem was on Wednesday night, there was dollar pitcher night at the Shannegaff. And this class was at 8:00 in the morning. And the Shannegaff was probably my kryptonite. So I think I look at that, and it's funny because I've done the same thing, probably even to my boys when they worked for me at Miracle and other thing. It was just I was obviously in the wrong. I should have not been missing classes, but I think someone going to college, was having a little bit of a good time. So
we call that personal development.
Yeah.
I was networking.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
If you haven't listened to that one in full, go back to it. That was episode number 100. Paul B. Latshaw, unbelievable. We are next going to go indoors to talk to Tanner Kaufman from the TGL. He tells us a little bit about what it was like having some of the golfers first enter the stadium.
But nothing's better than, especially the first time that these players would come through. I think Rory was one of my favorite ones. He walked up and he just slammed like a 310-yard drive, like as a warm-up. And he kind of turned around. He's like, "Grass is really cool." And I was like, for that to be like the first thing that he says, I'm like, that's awesome.
Nice.
Surrounded by technology, you've got the world's largest simulator screen in front of you, and they're like, "We're hitting on real grass. This is cool." So
That is awesome.
you hit off real grass everywhere. So the fact that they're indoors and that's what they're thinking about is great. Tiger's first time in here was, I told you I feel like I didn't sleep for a week because I was just dying to make sure everything was perfect. I spent so much time on the fairway tee boxes. I spent so much time on the green to make sure it was perfect. And the comment that he made about the grass was he hit a rough shot out of the rough. And then he kind of looked up. He's like, that was really good. And then he walked away and came back with, like, no joke, he came back with like 10 balls. And in the rough, you have to drop it. And he starts dropping balls into the rough. And I think he talked about the rough for probably 5 full minutes on the rough was so good. The rough was perfect. Like, don't change the height, don't change the density. Like, this is great. I love the rough. And in my head, I'm like, the rough is the least of my worries.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of time I've put into this to make sure this is perfect for you. And then you comment on something that I spent 5 minutes on. Like, it's funny, but it's nice to have those moments of like, oh, well, that's what I think the least of right now, just because it doesn't take as much maintenance or work as the rest of the stuff. But that's what he picked to talk about and to fall in love with. So that was an interesting one. I mean, he did like the other grasses in the building, but for him to spend so much time looking at the rough was kind of an interesting thing.
Still can't even believe that that's real. Like, it's really exciting to see where Tanner's going to take that whole thing. Next up here, we are going to chat with Chad Mark, and he talks about having the PlayStation and the workout room at the shop.
A lot of the staff, when we do the 10-day, 2-day, we try to put them with people we know they're pretty close with anyhow. They play a lot of golf. They'll go play some golf. They go out. I know that a bunch of the interns went to the concert this weekend together. So they're just, even if it's just sitting around the intern house, around fire pit and having a beer like Weber and I did back in the day, I think that there's a brotherhood there that's pretty strong, and they genuinely love each other. And I know that a lot of them will visit each other once they get back to school and go up and watch, Ohio State play Michigan State, or Purdue play Michigan State, or Purdue come to Ohio State. So they all catch up with each other and stay in contact. I was somehow roped into the text thread last year that it seemed like every weekend on Saturday, which I loved being on the text thread. I absolutely loved it. But they left me on it. It was all the interns, and we got Tennessee and Purdue and Michigan State and Ohio State and Penn State. So there was all this banter every Saturday for college football, and I just love it. I think that's the part of it that gets me going. I love it that they are close, and I love it that they don't just go back to school and then lose touch with each other. They stay in touch, and the banter is pretty good. It's pretty funny sometimes.
Well, Weber's a little too shy. He said he didn't want to make a camera appearance or podcast appearance here this morning. But I did get a question from Carson Sells up here in Detroit. You sent him up here to work the Rocket Mortgage. He wanted to know who your favorite second year intern is this year.
Well, I'm not going to answer that because I don't have a favorite. Well, I mean,
you've got one.
He's trying to get me to say my son, but I probably harder on him than I am any of them. So
he wanted you
Carson's
to say him. But
Carson's a great one. They're all great. They all do a great job, and we do have a great group of second year interns. And I think that's something that we haven't had a lot of that here. We have occasionally had an intern that takes full-time jobs. We just had that with Cooper David from Michigan State, but I think the shops helped a lot of that. I think the pride that I have in this building, and I mean, I'm doing stuff that, I mean, quite frankly, 15 years ago, if you told me that I had a little weight room and a PlayStation set up, that these guys clock out and sit here and play PlayStation at the end of the day, it's like, go home if you want, but they love it. And so it's a really cool group of kids, and they got such bright futures. It's going to be outstanding to see how they grow.
Yeah, Chad would definitely be a good guy to work for. Pushes you hard, but you have fun as well. That's what you want in a team and a leader. So next we're going to head over to Thomas Bastis.
How do you guys go about identifying which tournaments that you're going to go to throughout the year?
I'd love to know.
There's no pecking order or anything like that. It's just
Mhm.
you're assigned with whatever. You don't get to pick. Like I want to go to, like you said, Hawaii. Got to wait for.
I know. I try to lobby for things, and I will tell you that if my lobbying skills were anything worthy, with my boss Paul, I would I yeah, no, I suck because it just doesn't happen. The funny part is, like, for instance, I kind of I chide with him, and Paul, I hope you are not listening because you've already heard this. Um, you know, I I like traveling. It is just like I was telling somebody else on another podcast that I consider myself James Bond when I'm traveling through the airport. I stick to myself, I've head down, nothing ever bothers me, or I try not to let it bother me. I'm just kind of like there. I kind of move in and out the shadows. You wouldn't know that I went through the airport kind of thing. Um, and he's given me 5 tournaments in California. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even
Yeah.
getting out of the state.
Right.
I want to joke with people that, oh, we get a lot of crap for, can you swear on this podcast?
Absolutely.
That's
Oh,
fine.
okay. So I'm giving a lot of shit for coming from California, and even more so from San Francisco Bay Area. So I never lead with where I'm from San Francisco. I kind of lead with, I'm from Palo Alto, Stanford University, kind of entertaining around there. But doing 5 tournaments in California, I feel like I can't say, well, I'm a part-time resident of California, because the rest of the time I'm everywhere else but kind of California. So
Been fun having Thomas on the show a couple times. Next, we're going to head down to Scott Pavalco. This was a great interview. If you missed this one, go back and listen to the whole thing. A little clip from his episode here.
The one thing that happened here, that I just find to be strange, and the thing that happens at tournaments is you got all these contractors and big trucks trying to get around your property, and they don't really know where they're going a lot of times. And this place in particular, if you get going down the wrong cart path, you can get into serious trouble. So we, whatever reason, it tends to involve porta potties. And so we had a porta potty truck driving up our 17th hole, which I'm just glancing at, get up on a hill, and the porta potties hadn't been cleaned. They came from Lollapalooza in Chicago, and he was up a slope he shouldn't have been, and there was some spillage, we'll say. So it's just like things like that I should start writing them down, because they're so numerous, these sort of strange events, that in the grand scheme of things, with tournament prep, you're just like, all right, let's go, just figure it out.
Did somebody yell, "Oh crap"? I hope that would have been the line, right?
Exactly. Oh crap is exactly the phrase.
That was the radio call.
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah. There's something about this property that Google Maps thinks that our cart path on 17 is a route that Amazon drivers and delivery truck drivers should use to get up to the neighborhood. We're within a gated community. And so we get all kinds of stuff that tries to make it through this property that shouldn't.
And now we're going to head inside the shop and chat with Trent Manning from the Real Turf Techs, our mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, it's really simple. If you don't know, just ask. Just ask somebody. If you don't know. I wish more people would do that. And I do. So from the mechanic side, and maybe even from the superintendent side, operators tend to get, a bad rap a lot of times. But honestly, I think it's because they were never trained in the first place. And we get all these people in at the golf course, and we just expect they have all the knowledge that we do, and there's nowhere close to that. So we have this one operator, and college kid, I don't know what year in college or what college he was attending. Anyway, I roll up on him out on the course, and he's in a golf cart, knees in the seat, and he's like leaning in the back. So I pull up. I'm like, what's going on? Nothing. Like, everything okay? And he has a backpack blower and 2 gas cans. And I was like, is there something wrong with the blower? Because he's got his hands on it. No, it's fine. I'm like, well, what are you doing? You know, like, why are you avoiding me here? Just answer my question and be straight with me. I said, will the blower start? No, it won't start. I'm like, okay, you just said there was nothing wrong with it, but it won't start. I'm like, so why will it not start? I don't know. So I look, it's empty, no gas, no gasoline. There's 2 cans. Yeah. So yeah, I know. I mean, I've been a mechanic a long time, and that took me a minute to figure that one out. Make sure it's got gas in it, right? I mean, honestly, yeah, like back in the day, that was very common. That's the first thing you do, make sure it's got gas in it. So anyway, no gas. One gas can's empty. The other one's got just a splash of fuel in it. So I turn it up, and he's like, "What? I couldn't get any gas to come out of that." I'm like, "Well, you got to turn it up. I mean, this kid is 21 or 22, and he doesn't understand gravity. You know, it's like how do you teach people like that?" So you know, the challenge for us at the golf course is real, of teaching other humans how gravity works. You know, you got to turn the can all the way up so the gasoline will run out. I mean, he turns it up like halfway. I'm like, come on, man. Yeah, and it reminds me, we have this other kid. He pulls in the shop with a John Deere Pro Gator and turns it off, and then he gets on another gator right next to it. So I'm like flagging him down. So is there something wrong with that other gator? You know, what's going on here? He said, it's out of gas. Okay. So, I mean, I guess nobody had showed him that we got a whole fuel station and we fill it up when it runs out. So, I mean, that's just, some of the things that we run into at the golf course.
I loved your response to the questionnaire. We won't have any problems filling time. Your stories.
Well, yeah, I'm sure I'm sure more stories will come up as we go through this.
What's the worst thing you've seen?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, it's all. I mean, the one that comes to mind is we had a trailered buffalo blower, and number 18 is a downhill dogleg left par 4, and the trailer come disconnected from the cart, and this is a Friday morning too, and the buffalo blower continues down the fairway and ends up in 18 Lake, and the chute is sticking up in the air, so it looks like a water feature.
No way.
And it's like 9 o'clock on Friday morning in the summertime, and all the members in the clubhouse looking at it. I'm like, this is great. But I mean, it happens.
That was a really good episode with Trent. He goes over a lot of cool different tips for things and tells a bunch of different stories about stuff. But he's a solid mechanic. He has a great page you should follow as well. Next up, we're heading over to Scott Bordner. I have no words here. Love it. Last one here. If you weren't working in turf, what would you be doing?
Probably an OnlyFans model.
Are you feet or hands?
Likely
feet or hands.
Got the bald head and everything.
Yeah.
No.
I'm surprised I can't hear your wife in the background, just cracking up.
Her face just got extremely bright red. Nah, there's a funny joke behind that, but well, I won't go there. But probably taking care of a baseball field. I'm a huge baseball fan, so ideal job would be Wrigley Field and just sit there and watch Cubs games and
sleep at the office in Wrigley Field. Yeah, good.
It's a grind. I know it's a hard schedule for those guys, but I just, the ballpark is like a magical place for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does something special to you.
Well, I think people maybe have gotten a sense, especially based on that last OnlyFans answer, that you tend not to take things too seriously. How important do you think that is for what you do?
during construction, I didn't realize it because at a very young age, my parents were very good about putting life in perspective. And when something would happen, they're like, really? Is that the worst thing that could happen in your day? And so when you start to go through problems with that mindset, like, is that really, like, does that make a bad day? Like, you're going to forget about this in 10, 15 minutes. If that's the worst thing that happens in your day, is it really a bad day? So I just think if you take yourself too seriously about what we do, we're not curing cancer. There's bigger issues in the world. When things go wrong, it's fine. How are we going to figure it out? And we had a sales rep walk in the office when we were in the middle of construction. He's like, this is the calmest construction crew I have ever seen. I was like, well, I mean, you're moving earth around. You're having fun. You're watching Dana and Jason create this masterpiece out on the golf course. Like, how bad could it be? Yeah, things are going to go wrong, but it's starting to look at things from a different lens. And I think the older you get and you see problems that other people have, health wise, family wise, when something bad happens on a golf course and then you hear news about something else, you're like, yeah, that really wasn't a problem.
Oh my gosh, that was such a good interview. He's such a beauty. Next up, we have Rich McIntosh, who talks about one of the biggest breaks he's seen.
I mean, the one that, I think it was my first year at Torrey, and I believe it was Thanksgiving, and I get a phone call at like 5 o'clock in the evening. There's an irrigation break. It's like, how bad is it? I was like, it's a pretty nice sized geyser, and I'm like, all right, I'll be in. So Thanksgiving Day, worked in the morning, heading back to work, and I can see it. I mean, it was a few holes away from when I passed the clubhouse there, and I could see it. I mean, it was a 40 or 50-foot geyser. It was a mainline break, and I'm driving out, and I'm already not happy. And there's a dad and his son playing on 18, and he stops me. And he's like, "Hey, there's an irrigation break?" And I was like, "It's 5 o'clock on Thanksgiving. What do you think I'm doing here?" Not the nicest answer, but yeah, no, it was a 40-foot geyser, and I mean that system was so old that mainline valves didn't work, isolation valves weren't working. So I probably spent 3 hours just trying to find valves that worked so I could isolate it and shut it down. And it didn't blow anything out. It was in a good area per se, but I remember coming in the next day and I looked at my two irrigation guys who were great. I was like, I turned a bunch of valves off. I'm not sure what's off out there, but between this hole and this hole, you might want to check everything. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was the worst one I've ever dealt with, but it was an interesting one that I won't forget.
All right, we're gonna head on down to California, chat with Justin DePippo, and I think you've heard this one before, but it's an all-timer.
Trying to figure out what to do, and we did get sent out. A little confusing about front nine, back nine, and what holes to avoid. And somebody, we were just picking up sticks to start, and this guy next to me, I couldn't tell you his name, didn't know him, but he was there volunteering, he was working, and he just starts going off about USGA agronomist and Darren specifically, and I'm just kind of like jaw dropped. This was years ago, I was pretty young at the time, and had some choice words for Darren of what he thought of him. And, I looked at him and I said, hey, somebody taught me this early on in my career, and it's probably good for you to learn too, but it's a very small industry and a very small group. But that guy you're talking about is actually my stepfather. And he just like jaw dropped, looked at me and goes, don't hit me, don't punch me. I'm like, what? Like that even caught me off guard, because I was more like thrown off that the guy was doing this, and then turned it into that. And then he disappeared. He didn't come the rest of the week. That was it. So
No way.
yeah, he was done. Never found out who he was. I'm not sure if he's still in this or not, but
Wow.
good learning experience for him, wherever he ended up. But yeah, so
Yeah.
Okay, next we have Terry Laurent with a story that I think about all the time. What a move this man pulls off.
There's a funny story. Our neighbor over here, we both had the desire to sing karaoke, but we were both scared to. And so she dared me to sing, and I dared her to sing. And she goes, "Well, I'm not going to sing until you sing." And I go, "I have to listen to some songs before I can even do that." I said, "I'll have to pick one out." I said, "When I do, I'll let you know." And so we were traveling home from our cottage back to the house in Decatur, and I heard this song. And I go, "Man," I looked at Terry, my wife, and I said, "I think I could sing that song. That sounds pretty easy." And so that weekend we came back up, and I told my neighbor, I said, "I'm ready to sing karaoke." And I go, "Do you have your song?" She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay." I said, "We're going to sing tonight." So she says, "All right." So we went over to the restaurant here, and she looks at me, she goes, "You're going to sing first." And I go, "No, I'm not." I says, "You're going to sing first." She goes, "No, if I do go first, you won't sing." Oh, "Yeah, I will." I said, "I'll get up and sing." She goes, "All right." So she got up, she sang her song. And so then they got me up next. And soon as the music started, it was hilarious. She recognized the song. And do you know Tequila, the song Tequila?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, they only say it 3 times.
Yeah, that's true.
In the song. Well, yeah. Soon as the music started playing, I looked over at her, and she's giving me the double finger. So
That's so fucking good.
I never laughed so
Oh
hard in my life.
God,
That was
that's
great.
so funny.
So that started my karaoke career.
So you just kind of stood there the whole time?
Yeah,
Tequila.
just sort of snapped my fingers and clapped, and
Just a showman.
Yeah. I think I'd be
and I
more
was laughing
terrified
at the
just
same
standing up
time.
there.
But I had to make sure I had to make sure I watched the wording, though, because I didn't want to miss the word tequila.
That's right. No, that's true. Yeah, you got to time that perfectly.
You mess that one up, you're done. Yeah, that's great.
That's how it got started. So
all right. So I got to know your favorite golf course family memory. So favorite memory of time on the golf course with the family.
We've
had a lot of them.
If we have, I was just trying to think of. I liked it when we were doing our family tournaments.
I did too. Those were great.
That was
I've got
fun.
the trophy still somewhere, I think.
I know you do.
It might be at the cottage. It actually might be.
He was ready to throw that one in there.
It might be.
I was going to let him bring it up.
That was fun. I mean, we played some pretty nice golf courses, and I think we played Bay Hill, Lake Nona. We played down at where'd Pat get his engagement? That was Amelia Island?
That was
Amelia Island.
Yep.
Played there. We played in Vegas too, didn't we? Didn't we play?
Yeah, we played Desert Pines. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember what else? Yeah.
Yeah,
we played a couple out there.
So, but those are I mean, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. Even though you won every year but one. And I feel bad about that. But you were starting to play pretty good back then, so I can't say that was bad for me. It was good that you were playing.
So good, Terry. So good. Next, we'll head to Tyler Bloom with one of the most talked about stories, maybe one of the most mentioned stories we've had on this show.
The 6th hole at Muirfield Village is on the farthest part of the property in comparison to the shop. And I was out there working with, his name was Rob Frederick, and I can't remember who else was with us. And we were doing some sod repair along the pond. And, Rob's there, and he's like, I just remember him being like, acting like he was so frustrated. We're all sweating. And he's like, "Oh, gosh, Tyler, I can't believe we forgot the sod stretcher. I need you to go back like ASAP. If Paul sees us out here not working with this, he's going to lose it. Jake's going to get upset." So I'm hauling ass back to the shop, I get back there and I'm like, I don't even know what the heck I'm supposed to be even looking for. Right. And here I'm this gullible intern, like looking around. Bill Clater, the mechanic, comes like, kind of gives you this discerning look, like, what's this guy up to? Bill comes over and he says, Tyler, can I help you with something? And I was like, man, I'm really embarrassed. I was like, Rob says we need the sod stretcher. And Bill straight faced is like, oh, I think it's over in the tournament barn. So I go on this wild goose chase for a sod stretcher, right? And again, like now there, it's like within the management team of what's going on. And I have a radio. And so Jake gets on the radio and he's like, Tyler, I'm out here at number 6. Are you getting back here anytime soon? Pretty soon Scott Pavalco jumps on the radio, like it makes its way, and then all of a sudden the radio call comes from Paul. No. And I'm just like, oh shit, I am screwed. And Paul, something to the tune of like, Tyler, it's really disappointing it's taken you this long to find that sod stretcher. And all of a sudden he's like, can you come back out here to number 6? And it was a group of guys just laughing their butts off at me. And I just had no idea. And then I was like, wow, I just totally got spammed.
The old banana peeler trick.
That's incredible. I love that straight-laced Bill Clater even got involved in the mix. That's great.
Oh, some of those just classics. Next, we are chatting with Jay-Z. John Zimmers talks about one of the biggest storms he's seen for a tournament.
2016, we had that terrible storm, and they actually closed the golf course, and we didn't reopen. I think they closed it Wednesday, didn't open until Thursday. Wouldn't let any spectators out, and we worked around the clock and repairing everything. And I remember getting home after midnight, and I was sitting, I believe, with Doug Drugo, one of my close friends and volunteers, and Jim Rome was there. We had just fixed everything. And it was too late. We were up, probably having a Diet Coke, but
sure.
Yeah, and game planning for the next day. And we had a porch on the back of our house, and you could just hear the rain start all over again. And it was just like, yeah, and it wasn't a soft rain, and you knew we were in trouble again. And we went in, and I think it was probably about 130 or 140 of us started all over. And I told everybody, listen, this is where we're at. We've just worked 24 hours. I had a friend go to Cabela's, Tom Waite. He bought lights for everybody at that point in time for the straps, the hiking lights. And it was just chaos, but yet we pulled it off, and they went out and played golf. And the conditions, at one point, I think Lowry was 10 under, and that sent, everybody at Oakmont over the edge, which, and then all of a sudden the weather changed and we got it back together. And I think Dustin, won it 4 or 5 under. So that's a memorable moment. Probably the most recent memorable moment is 2 of them. We got asked to host the LPGA here at Inverness with 2 weeks notice. Yeah. And, we didn't have spectators or anything, but there's a lot of coordination and planning to go. They needed a startup place to do it. So that's something that was like, whoa, okay, we got to figure this out. And so we had to do that. And then, of course, my probably, funnest event that I really had, it was they're all stress, but somewhat stress-free, was the Solheim Cup. I've never experienced that. So obviously you don't have to be quiet. There's hooting and hollering. We're still somewhat in COVID. There's 130,000 people that show up here to the club. And it was just crazy, hooting and hollering and cheering and people putting. They didn't really care. And it was a different perspective of golf. It was match play. You didn't have to count the scores. And you just saw the fans and the members and the spectators and everybody having a wonderful time. So that was a pretty great experience.
All right, let's go hear this one from Zach Sack. And this is a weird one. I haven't had too many like this on the show.
Yeah, dude. So this is a true story, by the way.
Excellent.
So as far as I know, it's true. There's like still times where I'm like, did that really happen? Or did I just imagine that? So being in the public world, our spray applications were at odd times. Like, you'd come in 8 o'clock at night, spray out 2 tanks for fairways, back at 3 o'clock in the morning, spraying out the next two. So I was spraying tees one morning. I was on the 15th hole, which is in the corner of our property. And you've got to go up front and back your sprayer up just to spray. And it's like 4:15, 4:30, pitch blackout. And I get in front and I like look behind me to like see where I'm at. And out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw a figure standing, like lurking, like on the edge of the bushes. So I like whipped my head back around, didn't see anything. I'm like, what the heck? All right. Get back up there, spray my pass. Can't remember what we were spraying so long ago, but I do remember we had dye in the tank. Spray my pass, get lined up. I'm backing up. I get towards the back. We have a row of privets, making sure I don't back into those privets. And I see this white figure again in the corner of my eye. I whip my head around. There's this dude. It's like 50 years old. He's in a Hawaiian shirt. He's got these white shorts on. He's got sandals on and has got his arm in a sling. And he's got this bouquet of wildflowers. And he just walks up to me and just hands me these flowers, smiles at me, and turns around, walks to the privets, and then just stands there. And I'm like looking at this guy, like half tempted to be like, you need to get out of here. Like, what are you doing? Didn't want to mess with him. Had no idea what's going on here. So I finished spraying the tee. I'm backing up, and he's just standing there. I noticed he's got dye all over. I mean, I guess he was standing right next to the boom. His white shorts have all these blue specks. His legs are covered in dye. His feet are covered in dye. So I finished spraying. I go back to the shop, have these flowers in my hand. Todd's like, what are those? I'm like, you will not believe what just happened. He didn't believe me. So then I go back. It's probably 5:30, and I'm like kind of just looking out, and there's nothing there. 2 weeks go by, and I'm still mulling over this. Then I'm leaving work one day, and this dude is standing. He's got his white shorts on with the blue stains and his sandals, no shirt, with his sling, just standing at the corner of a stoplight. And I saw him do that for like 2 weeks longer and never saw the guy again. It was the weirdest, most insane thing that, because like where I was, it's like woods. There's nothing out there. Like, I don't know where this dude came from. Like, I don't know if there's a psych ward nearby or something or what, but it was just really, really weird. And it freaked me out. And then fast forward to our next year, I get a call and I come up to the pro shop. Someone wants to talk to me. And it's this dude. It's like a year later. He's still got his arm in this sling. And he walks up to me, goes, how are my flowers doing? I was like, what? He's like, yeah, my flowers that I gave you, how are they? I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing great, man. They're really flourishing. They're really going. He's like, great. He's like, I hope you know that those were given with love. And I was like, okay, thanks, dude. Yeah. I don't know.
My
People,
gosh.
but it scared me. I mean, you're out in the middle of the dark on a sprayer. I mean, granted, our sprayer is lit up like you could see it from space. But yeah, that was a really, really weird one for me, man. I just never imagined that I'd envision something like that.
We are back with another Ask the Agronomist segment featuring PhD agronomist Tony Goldsby from the Andersons. Our question today comes in from Sean Palmer. Can you have Dr. Tony talk about the Genesis product and when the best times of the year would be to apply?
Well, thanks again, Adam, for having me on the show this week. And thanks again for all our great end users for submitting another great set of questions this week. So, Sean, yeah, that's a great question. And obviously was intimately familiar with our Genesis product when we created it, as I was the agronomist at that point in time with the Andersons. And really, our intent was to create kind of a post-aerification product, recovery product, if you will. And that's really where it excels, is around, helping turf recover quickly. And, when we're doing core aerification, obviously trying to get those cores to fill back in as quickly as possible so you can get your greens back to playability fast is kind of the name of the game. So it contains, all dispersing granule components and breaks down quickly and helps you make sure that your nutrients stay right where you want them. From a timing perspective, obviously, in the cool season markets, typically your aerification is going to be occurring sometime in the spring or fall, right when those soil temps are still climbing and there's a lot of active growth going on. And kind of from a contrary perspective, in the warm season markets, you're typically doing that aerification right during more of the warm summer months. So that's typically where we see it, kind of positioned from a timing perspective, from an aerification usage perspective. But we've also had a lot of reports that superintendents love using the 575 for maintenance applications as well on warm season turf. So, post aerification isn't the only fit for this product in your agronomic fertilizer program. But overall, again, really shines when you need to push new growth, recovery, and of course, surface smoothness, which is, really important after punching cores. And, that's really where the Genesis 575 shines.
Yeah, we're using it right now for aerification. Just put it out a week beforehand, and it's been really good. It's been a really good product to use, and it's nice to see it down in the greens. And yeah, we have some more to go out after, so it's gonna be nice. This wraps up another Ask the Agronomist segment featuring Dr. Tony Goldsby from the Andersons. Up next, one of our favorites, Darren Davis.
Tell me about the etiquette class. I'll never forget my dad telling me that he had to take an etiquette class.
I did not expect that question. Not many people know about that. I can even remember her name, Brian, Mrs. Franz, Mrs. Franz. And, back then, you're right. Turf school programs didn't have etiquette class. I mean, who did? I mean, and so, yeah. And again, you've sensed it, I'm sure already. I'm a passionate individual. And when I found my love, I was going to excel and I was going to make straight A's. And all but 2 classes I did, and hers was 1. And I remember getting so angry because she would come in and say, well, this is the rules, but you can do it a little differently. And it's the same true today. You have some steadfast rules, where the knife go, where the fork go, how you write a wedding invitation. All the things that 22-year-old turf students learning is writing wedding invitations. We all scratched our heads and said, what is Dr. Dewitt's thinking? But I had to make 107 on a final exam to get an A- in that class. And I did get the A-. And I remember writing her a letter on the back page of my exam saying, Mrs. Franz, I just need to tell you, I appreciate the knowledge, but you kept saying there's no rules and blah, blah. So it's, a lot of students that think they can make straight A's do not make an A in her class. So make B's and C's. Yeah. But Carol Raw and I teach a class at GCSA conference. This will be our 2nd year, and it's a 2-hour class. It's beyond agronomy. This is we did it last year in Phoenix, and half the class is what I'm just telling you about Mrs. Franz. We talk about things about silverware and etiquette, and I love that. That's my passion. Is when I get a chance to go around the country and speak. A lot of it is on professionalism and how you present yourself.
It's so great to have Darren on the show. We're definitely going to have him back on. He's one of our favorites. And speaking of favorites, this is one of my favorite stories that's ever been told on the show. This is Daniel Peterson, and Trevor and I are still laughing about this to this day.
I was fishing for golf balls. Now, I parked my car at the end of our maintenance road in front of the gate. Me and 3 of my friends were ball hawking. So we're down there. We go through the ponds. We obviously ball hawk for too long, and it's really late. And it's dark out, and we didn't bring a flashlight because we're the smartest 17-year-olds on earth. And we get back to our cars, and I start, doing the famous pocket pat, and there's nothing, no keys. And I say, uh-oh, because I'm parked behind my friend. And so we go out looking, and we look around the ponds, we can't find them. We look everywhere, we can't find them. Well, I'll go ask one of the neighbors, hey, do you have a flashlight? Because it's pitch black. And I go up to a house, I knock on the door, and I see some lights come on, and I see some action, and then I, see a couple people peek down the stairs. I knock on the door, and I give them a wave. And a couple minutes later, I'm thinking they're just getting dressed. Nope, cops come up behind me. Now, I'm muck-ridden. Like, I am just mud up to my waist. I'm in wader boots, like, to the knee with the straps. I'm legitimately now looking at myself, look like a serial killer. And
I mean, the cops got flashlights.
The cops did have flashlights, and I begged them. I begged them to come help me look for my keys. They didn't believe me for a second. We walked out back behind the house, and I was like, "The pond's right over there." And he's like, no way, no way. Get in the back of the car." And it wasn't until he pats me down. While I was looking for my keys, I also found some more golf balls. So I stuffed them in my pocket. And he found, my pockets are to the brim with golf balls. And so now he's starting to maybe believe me. And then I get, put in the back of the cop car, handcuffed.
So unnecessary.
Golf balls everywhere.
Golf balls start coming out of my pockets. They are on the hard plastic seat. Dude, every time he took a turn, it was just like, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. And he's so mad. Him and his partner are furious. They're so mad at me. They decided to just believe me. And apparently, because I was like, just take a right, take another right. And my car is one street over. And they brought me over, and my friend was still waiting. They had finally got their car around mine. So they let me go. I get a ride home. I figure, I have a spare key, or I'll call a locksmith, whatever, but I'll, get to work early so I can explain to everybody, what happened. I'm really sorry. Well, did I wake up for my alarm? No, I didn't wake up for my alarm. So not only was I not there early to explain to people what happened, I was actually there late.
Oh, man.
And everyone had to park in the pro shop parking lot across the golf course and get ferried over. And my superintendent at the time drove me around to look around the ponds. Like, at this point, I'm just like flogging myself looking around these ponds for the keys. And I'm in the back of his little electric carryall. And this was the day I found out they had weight limits. For 10 years, I said that he hit the latch on me. But no, I'm just bouncing around looking backwards. I hear click. And then all of a sudden, I'm not moving. And the sound of the cards getting further away. I hit my tailbone so hard, man. I haven't lost keys since. That was the last time I ever lost keys.
Got him on a rope now.
I come back in January. There's still seasonal at that time. I came back in January to talk to him about the next season. Over the winter, kids had been fishing for balls in the pond and found my keys in the pond. They were hanging up on the board.
Ready to go.
Yep. All that. What I do for golf balls, man.
That's an all-timer.
Mhm.
All-timer.
I can't believe the cops put you in the car for knocking on a door. That seems a little silly.
Looking like I know what you did last summer, though.
The golf balls just rolling around in the back of the squad car is way too much for me. All right, next up, we are going to hit the mountain with Red Evans.
Yeah, 50 days, and Everest obviously is the highest mountain in the world, and so it's unique from that standpoint. There's a lot of folks that try to climb it, I think, for that very reason, which in some cases is unfortunate because they probably aren't prepared and they're just going after the glory of saying they've climbed it, and I saw some of that, which was a little disappointing. We had some folks that didn't make it, and it really was a wake-up call. I've seen a lot of things happen on big mountains, whether it's Denali, Aconcagua. But Everest is unique in that standpoint, is that once you're above 26,500 feet, it's called the death zone. And, there's no helicopters, there's no cell phones, there's nobody coming to rescue you. And so that puts a whole new kind of nuance on the climb, right? I mean, you all of a sudden start to feel like this is real. If something happens, some unexpected things with your body, your climbing partner or whatever, is that you're on your own, and it's a sinking feeling, and that really resonated with me. That it was powerful. In fact, I think I've been talking a little bit about it, and I'll talk about it when we get to our show in February. But it's been a realization for me that we have two lives, and the first one begins when we realize we only have one. And I think all of us, I guess I shouldn't speculate, but I believe most people, they go through life always kind of chasing that what if, always waiting for that next life to begin, waiting for their ship to come in. And I think superintendents are certainly guilty of that, right? They're in a profession that is relentless. I mean, Mother Nature never lets up. And there's always something to be done, right? There's always a weed to pull. There's always a blade of grass to mow. There's always a member to try to calm down, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, in our world, it's the same thing. We can just go and go and go. And we can sit there and wake up 10 years from now and go, wow, I missed a lot of things that I should have made more important in my life. And Everest did that for me. It was a wake-up call. When I left Camp 4, which is the high camp here in the death zone, my Sherpa had already left. He had been called on a rescue, and so I was climbing by myself and knew that at some point on the way to the summit that I would run into my Sherpa, and then ultimately we'd finish the climb. And as I come up, to what's called the triangular face, I see 3 headlamps, and it's pitch dark. It's 9 o'clock at night, and I realize, wow, this isn't good, because one of them's laying on the ground, and that's not a place you want to be. You got to keep moving at that level and at that height, and I realized as soon as I got there and I looked down that one of the oxygen bottles that was on this gentleman was mine. It was my spare oxygen bottle that my Sherpa had taken up to try to rescue this guy. A climber who had gassed out, who had been on the summit the night before and was trying to get down and just didn't make it. And so I was there for his last breaths, and it was again that wake up call of, wow, this is real. There's nothing that we can do for this individual. His name was Bainad. He was a Nepali climber, and so. Again, I'm dwelling on that a bit because I really think that all of us, especially our listener, your listeners, our respective members, need to hear that we got to make sure that we're prioritizing our life in a way, especially in this business, that we're doing the right things. And so that was probably my biggest takeaway. The second one is just the concept of leading out, that we are so much more capable of what we really think we are. I think we hold ourselves back so often. We think, oh, well, I can't start my business. Oh, I can't change jobs, or I'll never be a superintendent. I'll just remain an assistant, or whatever it is, right? That's in our head. And I think that's a false narrative. I really think that, that we've got to have faith over fear. And as soon as we can, take that first step in that direction, yeah, we may fail, we may slide back. But if we just keep going, it's going to work out. And that was something I saw on Everest. It was just one setback after the next. I ate a spoiled yak steak on the way in and got deathly sick. I had a fall on Lobuche, which was a pre-climatization climb where in fact, we're on a podcast. You may not see this, but I've got a wrist brace on. I'm doing shoulder surgery on December 11th. And just finished a procedure on my hamstring. So had a major fall and thought it was over, but it just kept on finding a way, and it works.
It was so great getting to talk to Rhett. You can see why he's such a huge leader in our industry. It was awesome to get to talk to him. Another big one was Jeff Marco. He talks a little bit about his legacy here.
So as you look back on your career, Jeff, is there anything that you wish you would have done, or is there anything you would have changed?
Boy, that's always a good question. Not really. Maybe a little more traveling around as a younger person coming out of school. Go try the Southeast. It never worked down there. Work in the Northeast. We worked in Minnesota, so I've only had Minnesota and California experiences. Go to the Rockies, and just because of the different climates. So probably, again, that goes back to one of the original conversations about the students, is go find these different areas, go try these different areas and see where you want to ultimately end up, and get as much experience with southern grasses, northern climates, learn how to plow snow. I mean, all that stuff.
Big one.
But that it's not a regret. It might be just that if I could do it over, I'd probably do a little more of that. Go overseas. Your world is ahead of you, and you're going to get tied down with other, life issues. So that would probably be it. I had to do it over.
What
So
what do you want your legacy to be, Jeff? You're getting ready to retire in March. What do you want your legacy to be?
I guess I've never really been big on a legacy, but you know, were you a good father, a good husband, were you a good superintendent, and did you help people along the way? That's probably it.
It sounds like you
It's
can say
simple.
yes to all those questions.
I don't know. You'd have to ask my wife, but you know, maybe
Fair enough.
maybe 3 out of 4. I
Maybe
might
three
be
out of
3 out
four.
of 4.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a tough
I
one
think
to
we're
win.
all in that boat.
Yep.
No, she's you know what? Behind every good superintendent is a good, you know, spouse, a support group. So
100%.
it's not a one, you know, somebody's taking care of the fort while you're out here. So they deserve as much credit as we do.
This last little collection here is 2 minutes of Sean Bacon's interview. And that's one you definitely have to go back and listen to. That was probably one of the most important interviews we've done. We've certainly done some big superintendents, some big names, some of which you've heard today. But Sean's episode was so impactful. I've heard from so many different people, not even just in the turf industry, but just people in general about what that can do. And I think we're going to see more of him, which is fantastic. So here he is, Sean Bacon.
I am exactly who I am now because someone believed in me when I thought it, and I didn't see it in myself. That fought for me when I couldn't for myself. And that is probably one of the greatest gifts in my lifetime, outside of my own marriage and my children. So if you need a mentor, go find one. Find someone you deeply, deeply respect, that has pushed every boundary, failed more times than they've succeeded, that have really made an impact, and go ask them. There's always a reason not to do something, and there's always something in the way. There's always going to be that in life. That's just the way it is. And sometimes the things that knock you down aren't evil, and they're not actually bad. They're happening for a reason. And if you are paying attention, they could put you in a direction that dynamically changes your life for the better. But we have this pre-existing idea of where we should be. And should is one of the most insidious words in the English language, because it's a language of expectation. I should be here. I should have this. And should and exception and having expectations breed disappointment. And disappointment, of course, slides into disgust, anger, depression. So as things happen to you, remove yourself from the equation a little bit and say, what can I do with this that's going to become successful? What's it teaching me? What's it going to take for me to go beyond this point? Because short of you dying, you can keep going. If you really want a legacy, mentor somebody into something great, fantastic, into greatness. There are people that will not allow people to go past the person that's leading them because they don't want to be replaced. That's a massive problem. I almost said about 5 other things that were completely inappropriate. I really had to harness that one in. Really had to, wow, that took some calories. Anyway, I've got the best job in the world. I get to push people to their limits and teach them where they are. And there's no better job in the world. So, and I think that's where you come in. That's why I met you.
All right, that's going to do it for us this week. We got another great interview coming for you guys next week, just like our old interview style. This has been a lot of fun to do. It's cool to kind of go back on some of the fun episodes and different people we've talked to. So push that one around if you can. Like I said at the beginning of the show, that's something we can use for people to kind of see what it's going to be like. So we appreciate all of our sponsors, all of our listeners, everything you guys do behind the show to keep it moving forward is huge. And like we always say, if you have any suggestions, things you want to see, people you want to hear from, definitely just reach out to us because the show is for our community. So keep those reels sharp. We'll see you guys next week. And here's a little video for you guys on the way out. Take care.